Coronation Street fans, gutted, as soap legend Claire Sweeney confirms shock exit after just 3 years. Cassie was such an underused character and had so much potential, one viewer wrote, as news of the departure sparked disappointment across social media. Coronation Street viewers have been left stunned, and, in many cases, genuinely heartbroken, after it was confirmed that Claire Sweeney is set to leave the ITV soap after only 3 years on the cobbles. The actress, long regarded as a stalwart of British television, has played Cassie Plummer since 2023, the chaotic, unpredictable daughter of Evelyn Plummer, played by Maureen Lipman, and the long-lost mother of Tyrone Dobbs, Alan Halsall. Cassie's arrival was designed to shake up the show's emotional landscape, and it certainly did, injecting a volatile mix of vulnerability, desperation and explosive behavior into the lives of some of Weatherfield's most established characters. Now, however, that chapter is coming to an end. Although Sweeney herself has not publicly commented on the departure, fans have been quick to connect the dots. In recent weeks, she has been posting enthusiastic behind-the-scenes photographs on Instagram from her new stage role, playing the infamous Miss Hannigan in a UK and Ireland tour of the musical Annie. It's a major role, and one that seems to signal her full-throttle return to the theatre. In an official statement, ITV confirmed the news while teasing that Cassie's exit will not be quiet or forgettable. Cassie will be on the cobbles until the summer, during which time she will continue to make her presence felt in Weatherfield, leading up to a great exit storyline, the broadcaster said. That line alone has been enough to send viewers into speculation mode. For a character like Cassie, whose life has been defined by instability, addiction, impulsive choices and moral ambiguity, the promise of a great exit storyline feels less like a gentle farewell and more like a warning siren. A short run, but a turbulent one, Sweeney joined the Coronation Street cast in 2023, marking her return to soaps 2 decades after the end of Brookside, the Channel 4 drama that helped cement her as a household name. Her casting was treated as a notable moment, not just the arrival of a new character, but the return of a familiar face to a genre where she had already proven her power. At the time, Sweeney made no attempt to downplay what the opportunity meant to her. Even though I've been lucky enough to have enjoyed an amazingly varied career for nearly 40 years, being cast in Coronation Street is, to me, better than being cast in a Hollywood movie, she said in a statement. It was the kind of quote that instantly resonated with soap fans, heartfelt, proud, and rooted in the cultural reality that Coronation Street isn't just another job. For many performers, and millions of viewers, it's an institution. Cassie, meanwhile, was introduced with a backstory built for drama. She was revealed as Tyrone's mother, a long-lost figure returning into his life like a storm cloud. Her connection to Evelyn gave her immediate emotional gravity, while her relationship with Tyrone offered the show a chance to explore abandonment, forgiveness, resentment and family identity, themes Corrie has always excelled at when it slows down long enough to let characters breathe. But Cassie's life on the street was never destined to be calm. During her time in Weatherfield, the character struggled with drug addiction, a storyline that exposed Cassie's fragility as well as her capacity for self-destruction. Addiction narratives in soaps can often be polarizing, but Cassie's portrayal leaned into the messy, uncomfortable truths, the damage caused not only to the person suffering, but also to everyone caught in the blast radius. And Cassie's chaos didn't stop there. In one of her most notorious arcs, she exploited her position as the carer for Ken Barlow, William Roach. In a chilling betrayal, Cassie drugged Ken and stole his valuables, a storyline that pushed her firmly into villain territory, even as it raised questions about desperation, entitlement, and how far someone will go when their moral compass collapses. At various points, Cassie also tried to rebuild her life through work, taking on roles as an office clerk at Webster's Auto Center and later as an office assistant at Streetcars. The jobs hinted at stability, or at least an attempt at it, but for Cassie, stability always seemed temporary, like a borrowed coat she could never quite keep on her shoulders. Fans say Cassie had so much potential, but was never fully used. If ITV's announcement confirmed the exit, the reaction online confirmed something else: Cassie's departure has struck a nerve. Across social media, many fans expressed genuine sadness, but also frustration, a sense that the show had introduced a character with huge dramatic potential, only to underexplore her deeper layers. "I'm gutted Claire is leaving," one person wrote on X. "Cassie was such an underused character and had so much potential that Corrie never utilized. Happy for Claire though and can't wait to see her shine in Annie." The tone of that message, devastated for the character, delighted for the actress, has been echoed repeatedly. Viewers may mourn Cassie's unfinished arc, but they also recognize Sweeney's talent and understand the lure of a high-profile theater role. Another fan offered a more conflicted assessment, suggesting the show's failure to develop Cassie might be a sign that the character's ceiling had already been reached. Mixed feelings about Claire Sweeney's exit, they wrote. "I don't think she's reached her full potential, but it's been 3 years this summer, so at some point you have to ask whether the potential was ever really there." It's a blunt question, and one that soap audiences increasingly ask. In an era where storylines move quickly and cast lists are sprawling, characters can arrive with a bang and then drift into narrative limbo. Cassie's fans argue that she deserved more emotional depth, more long-term consequences, more exploration of her relationships beyond shock twists and short bursts of chaos. For many, Cassie felt like a character who could have been complicated in the best way, morally grey, raw, sometimes sympathetic, sometimes unforgivable, but who was too often reduced to being a plot device. A departure timed amid major headlines for Corrie. Sweeney's exit news comes at a moment when Coronation Street is once again in the spotlight, and not just because of cast changes. The soap recently made headlines for a high-profile crossover episode with fellow ITV series Emmerdale, a special event that brought characters from both worlds together in a dramatic storyline centered around a deadly motorway car crash. Set on the motorway between Leeds and Manchester, the crash storyline delivered blockbuster drama, merging the two soap universes in a way that felt both ambitious and risky, a reminder that ITV is increasingly willing to experiment with scale, spectacle and cross-brand storytelling to keep audiences engaged. At the same time, the show has also found itself discussed for more uncomfortable reasons. Former Coronation Street star Helen Flanagan recently reflected on her time on the soap and accused the series of sexualizing her when she was 16 years old. Her comments reopened debate around the treatment of young performers in television, particularly in long-running productions where child actors grow up under public scrutiny. It's a stark contrast. On one side, Coronation Street is a powerhouse of drama and entertainment. On the other, Coronation Street is a cultural institution still grappling with the evolving expectations of audience ethics and industry responsibility. Against that backdrop, Claire Sweeney's exit lands as both a story in itself and a symbol of the soap's constant reinvention. What happens next for Cassie? ITV's promise of a great exit storyline suggests that Cassie won't simply drift away. She will remain on screen until summer, and viewers can expect her to make her presence felt, a phrase that implies disruption, consequences and perhaps one final attempt at redemption, or one final act of destruction. For a character who has stolen from Ken Barlow and fought addiction, the exit could take many forms: a dramatic downfall, a final betrayal, an emotional reconciliation, or even a last-minute turning point that allows her to leave Weatherfield with some kind of fragile dignity intact. Whatever the writers choose, it's clear that Cassie's story has divided viewers, but it has also kept them talking, and for a soap character, that might be the truest sign of impact. A new chapter for Claire Sweeney. While fans debate what could have been for Cassie, Sweeney herself appears ready for a fresh challenge. Taking on Miss Hannigan in Annie is no small step. It's a role with iconic status, comedic, cruel, theatrical, and demanding. It requires presence, timing and charisma. In other words, it requires exactly the kind of performer Sweeney has spent decades proving herself to be. So even as Coronation Street prepares to say goodbye to Cassie Plummer, Claire Sweeney is moving into her next spotlight, one stage at a time.